Hello. Audre Lorde once said, "To care for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare." What Lorde understood was that even though we all have to figure out how to exist and survive within the society, it never has the right to take away our full humanity or our voice. And that to care for oneself is not something that should be done solely in service of a system, but may occasionally need to be done in defiance of it. While self-care is still all the rage, I can't help but feel sometimes that it's been flattened from the deeper meaning that Lorde speaks about. Too often, self-care reminders seem so simple. Drink some water, get plenty of sleep, see a friend. And almost always with the "so you can do X, so you can keep going, so you can achieve." It flattens self-care to something like a power-up in a video game. This is why I feel like we deserve to reclaim self-care. And to do that, we should recognize that it has radical roots. Roots that can be found in the LGBTQ and civil rights movements which were all about honoring the worth of a person as important, no matter what society deemed them to be at the time. Roots that connect to the indigenous cultures of our country who understand the importance of rejuvenation and replenishment outside of production. But how do we do that? Sometimes people focus on the acts. And while some acts can be more radical than others, the reality is that there's no definition that makes one self-care behavior better than the other. In fact, many times the things that we do to care for ourselves, whether they be spiritual or creative, indulgent or social, even meditative, they're politically neutral. To truly reclaim self-care, I think we need to focus more on why we should be doing it and not what we're doing. I propose 3 steps to take us through that path. First, I'm a therapist, so we gotta ask ourselves some questions. Second, hopefully we can find places to make adjustments in our behavior and our thinking. And finally, what I think the most important piece is, we could recognize that advocacy is one of the most important components in a self-care toolkit. So sometimes starting is the hardest part. So here are a couple prompts for you. Ask yourself, what do I enjoy doing? What are things that fulfill me, big and small, on a deeper level? And how often do I consider those an important part of my self-care routine versus a guilty pleasure or something I have to earn by accomplishing some other external thing? Think about how often you find yourself saying your self-care routine is something that I and Maslow would argue are your basic necessities. Some water, full 8 hours of sleep, seeing a friend, and why we may be frustrated when those things aren't enough to fulfill us, aren't enough to keep us going. Maybe we need to ask ourselves, how do I approach self-care? Am I approaching it from a place where I truly believe that I am worthy of it, that I have a right to this, whether or not I get an A on my test or put in the hours at work that I think I need to? Or have I bought into a mentality that says that self-care's entire purpose is to serve the system, and that if I don't achieve, it's not working? Hopefully, as we ask ourselves these questions, we can see where adjustments may need to be made. Maybe we change our behavior so that we're including acts that actually fulfill us and stop accepting the bare minimum as the best we can do. Maybe we can adjust our thinking to truly honor ourselves, to be skeptical when someone tells us this is the way it has to be, or this is the most important thing that you need to do. To challenge that part of us that may think that in order to be happy, we have to be better. And in order to be better, we have to do more. And that at some point soon, we could take care of our mental health, but not right now. And then finally, advocacy. The most important point to me, and I think Lorde would agree, she often spoke about self-care in terms of her journey with her cancer diagnosis and how important it was for her to speak up in the doctor's offices to make sure she was getting the best treatment possible, because she knew at that time she was within a system that did not respect Black women's voices and cared even less about Black women's pain. So how do we advocate? It can be scary. I suggest we start with just one little word: why. The next time you find yourself in a situation, ask why. Why do we do it this way? Why are 70-hour work weeks normal? Why are we adding more expectations? Why is this the rubric that we have decided equals success? When we ask why, we create friction within our brains and within society. And within that friction, we can create something new. We can create the space where we can reclaim self-care and make it something more than acts that help us tread water, but make it be something that we fully believe we deserve because we know everyone has the right to comfort and safety and pleasure. And we can work to create a better world for ourselves and others, even if it's just by being the voice in the room that pipes up to ask, why?